morning, good afternoon, good welcome. Good welcome? Good welcome. I'm sticking with that one.
Strong start, Mo.
Yeah, it is, straight
like
off the bat. Pew! So yes, welcome to today's Talking Reds. As you can see, I'm here with Mr. Ian Ryan again. Now, what we do occasionally is we actually pay attention to what you say. And I noticed in the comments of our video on Friday, there were lots of people saying, these two are good together. So here you are again. Sometimes we listen to you and it's good. Sometimes we listen to you and it means that Robbo's going to chew you out for 5 minutes. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. But we're here, it's August now. It's the month that the football season's starting. But right now, there's not a lot happening, I'm not going to lie to you. The Reds are off in Evian in France, bunkered away, preparing for the new season. So you're not going to be seeing or hearing much coming out of them, apart from the occasional video where someone makes a rather good save, which I'm sure you've already seen. So we were kind of in a bit of a tangent. We didn't really know what we were going to talk about. And then, just like a striker who's been dormant for 88 minutes, Melissa already comes in and blams one into the top corner with our fantastic interview with Rhian Brewster, which has come out just today over on our website on joe.co.uk. Now, I've read the whole thing. Ian's read some of it.
I've had a little chance to
have a little look.
A little glance before, but for the bits I did read, it looked really, really good. I think Mel's, you know, she knows what she's doing, doesn't she? It's fair to say, and I think she's pulled another one out the bag. So yeah, well done.
The thing I like about it, thanks for that by the way. The thing I like about it is it gives you the real idea of him as a person, and that's not always easy to do in a football interview, especially with young players, because when they're at that age, there's a lot of media training that goes on, so you find yourself hearing the same answers again and again, or even different answers, but basically put in the same way. What I like about Rhian is that you get a real sense of his own personality in the way he answers it. And I don't know if any of you are aware of his story. He came over from Chelsea when he was 14 years old, and it was basically his idea. It wasn't a case of his parents saying to him, look, you've got to move. It was just a conversation he had with his dad, and they just realised that all of the great players that they've seen in the Chelsea youth system, none of them made it to the first team. And it was the influence of that, the influence of his dad being a Liverpool fan, and of Michael Beale, who the coach who'd worked with him at Chelsea, that all influenced him coming to Liverpool. And now we're at a stage where he signed a 5-year contract, he's committed his future to the club, and he just seems like a really determined, engaging young guy who has avoided and hopefully will continue to avoid all of the pitfalls that normally befall young players.
I think your point there about determination is spot on. I think what shines through in that article is just how determined he's been as a young player to get where he is now, which is on the cusp of probably getting some game time for Liverpool once he overcomes his latest injury. But that again, you know, you listen to what he says around the injury and how he's working to get back to full fitness. Again, it proves to me that there's an awful lot of character in there for such a young lad. And obviously there's the story around the racism as well. Again, you know, he didn't handle it like a child, did he? Like a kid, which is what he was essentially, you know, kind of 16, 17-year-old lad, and having to deal with something as huge as that. But again, you know, there was a maturity about how he handled it, and obviously the club backed him all the way. I think your point there about how he arrives at Liverpool was really interesting. It's clear that he's got a really kind of strong bond with his family, which is good to see. Michael Beale obviously, you know, recommended him to Liverpool and said, you know, this guy, you know, there's loads of potential there. He's someone we should have an eye on. And I think now, listening to him talk, he backs himself. He really thinks he's got a chance of making it at Liverpool, and obviously hopefully getting some game time this season. Obviously the injury, you know, that could play a factor. You don't know how long it's going to take him to recover from that. He talks about just how painful it was, that ankle injury, and obviously, you know, he's never felt pain like it. He's doing bits with Ox as well, with Chamberlain. That's good. Oxlade-Chamberlain's there to offer support. He's been through injuries in the past, so I think it's good that he's got him to bounce off. But the other interesting thing I thought was just how he's watching Roberto Firmino in training, the movement, the press, the things you're going to pick up from a footballer like Bobby. I mean, you can only imagine, can't you? I mean, what a kind of introduction really to kind of, you know, man's football, being able to watch players such as Firmino. He talks about Salah, he talks about Mane. I think he says, you know, they're all fired, doesn't he? Is the quote, and then says, well, you know, I know I'm not going to be able to walk into that first team because I'm a 17-year-old lad, and obviously these three are absolute, you know, world stars, and you know, the kind of performances they gave last season were just ridiculous. But that said, as I said before, he still backs himself to maybe get some game time. And as I say, I think he's an exciting prospect, and he's one that I certainly would hope to see, you know, at least get some game time when he's fit again. But I think Liverpool will have to pick the moments, because if he comes back in December, we don't quite know where we'll be as a football club in terms of next season. We're challenging for the title. What competitions are we still in? So we'll have to wait and see.
Well,
but it's exciting.
One will definitely be in December is the FA Cup. I think that might be the perfect time to reintroduce it. But anyway, I just want to say, you actually read it all, didn't you?
Well, you know, I skim read it. You know what I mean?
Incredible.
I skim read it. So.
No, I'm just joking. But on the point about the guys in the team ahead of him, the thing that I really took out from it as well is not so much his reactions to them and him having the confidence to pick up on things they do, but know how to convert it into what he does and to maintain his strengths as a player, so he can still have that individuality that will hopefully get him in the team. But it's how the rest of the team reacted to him. They don't see him as this kind of young upstart who maybe is just a little bit too big for his boots or anything like that. They accept him and respect him as a part of the squad, and they're ready to take him in. And I believe that by the time we get to the end of the season, the crunch time of the season, if we do have any similar injuries to what we've had this season, he's going to be in a really good position to play, not just play in the FA Cup games, but play in actual crucial, pivotal games and make a difference.
I mean, what you don't want, and we touched on this in other shows, you don't want to have to rely on young players to come off the bench and be game changers, essentially, because that's unfair. I think, you know, going into this season, I would hope we've got a big enough squad. And I've said before, I still think we should be looking to do at least one more, if not two, but certainly one more. Some people may agree with that, some people won't agree with that.
Oh, no,
that's absolutely fine.
I'm laughing because you say it literally every show.
I know I do. But as I said before, no chances, boys. This is. People will always laugh when people say this could be our year, but when you look at Liverpool's squad, there's a real opportunity, you know, to go and do something special. And I think the preparation we've had so far in pre-season has been, you know, we've suffered the odd defeat, Dortmund, for instance, but it's been almost perfect. I think, you know, getting the players, most of the players are back now. There's only one or two who aren't. I think Jordan Henderson's yet to come back, but Trent's come back early. Yeah. We've obviously got the Brazilian boys are back as well. When you look at other clubs and compare to how they're conducting their pre-seasons, both from a, you know, you look at Everton, I mean, fucking hell, I mean, they're getting battered every single game, aren't they? So that's not an ideal preparation. People will say it's pre-season and the glorified training sessions, and yes, they are to some extent, but you don't want to be going to the new season on the back of a load of defeats.
If they didn't matter, why would they do them?
Well, exactly, and obviously, you know, you want to gain your fitness, but then you look at United's pre-season, and I know they've had the victory against Real Madrid yesterday, but when you've got the manager calling out several players, your Marshalls, your Valencias, it doesn't look great. It doesn't. If you're a footballer, surely you can't be enjoying that environment. No. But looking at Liverpool's camp and how it's worked, and the messages that are being kind of, you know, sent out by players and the manager, it looks like a really happy place to be. And you know, that will surely play a part in the players feeling good before they go into the new season. So I think there's that. I think just back to the Rhian Brewster thing, I think the manager will like him because of his versatility as well. Another thing that shines through, he speaks openly about where he can play and how he can influence football matches and what he can do on the pitch. And he says, I can play right across that front three. It's not a problem for me. Well, we already know the manager loves that in his footballers. He loves versatility. He loves lads who are multifunctional, can play in different positions. And you think when he's signing players, he's always looking for that. You know, can you play in more than one position? You know, if I've got to juggle things around a bit, or juggle things around a bit, I should say, can you do something for me? You know, left side, right side, through the middle. Well, we know Rhian Brewster can do that. So again, that's another string to his bow. In terms of him getting an opportunity, if he can play 3 or 4 positions, well, it gives him a really, really good chance.
I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Now, a couple of lads who probably aren't going to get as many opportunities, or one who definitely isn't, is Ben Woodburn. As probably by the time this video comes out, his loan deal, season-long loan to Sheffield United will have been confirmed. Now, there was a lot of talk he was going to go to Aston Villa, but it turns out that Aston Villa still don't know what they're doing with Jack Grealish, who's obviously going to be a lock for the same position that Ben Woodburn will be looking to go. So Liverpool have decided to go to Sheffield United, who play a lot more similar in style to Liverpool do. They are very much a front foot attacking team, looking to keep possession. And they've got another good young manager in Chris Wilder, who's been doing great things at Sheffield United. So I'm quite pleased for the lad. I think it's actually going to go quite well for him. In the difference between the Harry Wilson situation, where it was almost like, we've seen what he can do here, we want to see him do what he can do at a higher level. Woodburn, this is going to be his first loan. So
Yeah.
this is going to be our first look at him really going over the full season and seeing what he can produce. So what are you expecting to see out of him?
Well, I think the whole loan thing was interesting because there was a bit of a debate about whether he would go on loan or not, or whether he would actually get some game time this season. I always felt the loan was probably going to be the outcome, to be honest. I didn't really see him getting an awful lot of game time this season. You look at the side, you think, well, where's he going to play? Unless there's an absolute raft of injuries, where does Woodburn get his game? Last year, doesn't really get used a lot, does he? You know, he's on the bench a bit, but you're thinking, well, the manager's not turned to him, and you can understand, again, it's the whole, well, he's a young player, you don't want to put the pressure on him, but actually, is he ready? Was he ready to be able to come in and offer what we needed at that time? Probably not, and I think there's very few footballers at that age who were able to come in and do that. You know, you think about your Michael Owens, your Fowlers, your Steven Gerrards.
Over the years.
We've been spoiled, absolutely, and it takes a certain kind of footballer of the highest ability to be able to go in and play probably in a central area and command the first team place and stay there and obviously show consistent form. That's really hard for a young player. So the loan for me makes a lot of sense. The Sheffield United thing, I mean, they are a big club, you know, they've been in the wilderness a little bit, but Wilder's obviously got them back into the Championship. They play decent football, as you've said. They get good crowds as well. They've got potential there to get really good crowds at the weekend. So it kind of makes sense. I think Liverpool have been really smart in recent years about how they've conducted the loan business as well. And I don't quite know all the finer details of this one, but they've put things in there in the past, such as, you know, you've got to play so much game time and stuff like that. So
the hard line, we're not fucking around anymore.
No.
And I absolutely love that. And the thing that actually warms me about it is that other clubs are recognising that now. They're not trying to haggle with us. They now know that this is our level and take it or leave it. Aston Villa decided that they didn't really want to do as many of those things as stipulations as we wanted, and that's also a reason why they backed away. So it looks like it's going to work out for us, because what that eventually means is that the loan itself is less likely to be a waste of time. Now, there's no guarantees, obviously. You never know how Sheffield United are going to start. Chris Wilder could get sacked to bring in a new guy, and it all goes up in the air. We don't know. But the amount that we can control, we have controlled, and I'd like that. Now, speaking of people who can control their own destiny, the cherry fella himself, Pedro, another guy who's not got a lot of minutes in the centre of the park, who's been a young prospect talked about for a long time. It looked like he was moving on to Rosenborg in Norway for, I think the fee was £3.5 million, but he decided he didn't want to go, Ian.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it looked like it was going to happen. You know, there's an old link there with Stig Inge Bjorneby as well, who's the sporting director of Rosenborg, and it looked like it was nailed on. But obviously, you know, he's decided to change his mind, and I'm not suggesting that suddenly means he's going to get some game time at Liverpool. Obviously, maybe he's looked at it and thought, I don't fancy playing for Rosenborg. I
think that's more likely.
I mean, they have got a big game, I think, this week against Celtic in a Champions League qualifier coming up. So there would have been an opportunity potentially to play Champions League football, but I think he's probably looked at it and thought, there could be other options for me at a higher level, in a better league, no disrespect. So he's probably thought that, but again, you know, I think he comes on against United, doesn't he, the other day, and he shows flashes and stuff, and again, highly thought of. But if you look at it and you think, well, would he get his game time this season, or, you know, do Liverpool need to have, you know, lads with more experience on the bench who can come in, and you never nailed on to be able to say, well, he'll perform to a certain level. But I think it comes back to, let's not take any risks. And Jürgen spoke about it when the boys interviewed him in the States, and he said, I can't have a bench of kids, I just can't have it. Obviously, it's nice to have a blend, isn't it? If you've got one or two absolute standouts and you think, well, it'll be great to get them involved. Yeah. But it's a balancing act, and I think the manager understands that.
He really does, and I think it's something else I picked up on his interview with Neil Jones, the second half of which came out yesterday, I believe, where he talks about the influence of the young players and Scousers in particular, and that heart of the club.
Absolutely.
He really does value it, and I love the quote about Curtis Jones, where it's like, if you've got two guys of the same quality, one speaks proper English, one's a Scouser, the Scouser's always getting in.
Yeah, I mean,
which, I mean, it's played to the crowd slightly,
yeah,
but
it's
important to hear your manager say that for those young kids. And you're right, Klopp has always been one of those people. He really tries to keep the balance between giving the young players something to aim for, but also having the bottom line of being the team functioning at the highest level it possibly can. So that means that if you've got these young players to come in, they have to be ready to do that. In the Chirivella situation, I feel like that was never really going to happen. I feel like he's one of those people who Klopp's seen enough of him to know that he's probably not going to be able to make a difference in his side, and therefore he's happy to move him on. But one thing I would want to throw at you, since I know how much you want us to bring more people in. We've
Gives
got
you that idea?
I don't know, man. I just open my ears sometimes, you know.
I'm turning into Rob Gutman, honestly, I swear to God.
Whoa now. Well, first of all, we're selling Chirivella, or we're looking to sell Chirivella. We're openly looking to sell Simon Mignolet. Now reports came out that Loris Karius has been interested by Leverkusen, and we're looking at selling him as well. So Klopp's always talked about how he feels more comfortable with a smaller squad. Now, do you think this is just him trying to trim it down so he can keep the harmony, or do you think we're stockpiling money to potentially put on someone else?
I mean, I'd love it to be that, but you know, as we get closer to next week, next Thursday's the deadline, isn't it? So it's edging ever closer. There's not that many links now, so you've got to start to get realistic and think it probably is going to happen.
Oh,
and,
mate.
you know, I'll have to make me peace with that at some point and get over it. But you know, I'm always of the theory that, you know, get one more. You know, and that may not be realistic. And obviously, you know, I'm not in charge of the football club, and people are probably happy about that. But I just think when I look at it, there's a spot there for one more person, whether it be someone in the front three or in that attacking midfield position. I said on the show last week with you, Mo, you know, I'd probably do bits at centre half if I could as well, but that's just me. But I think the manager does he likes harmony within the squad, and of course all managers would say that, but that does link it back to what you were saying about maybe a slightly smaller squad because that's easier to manage. But you've got to balance it with you're in 4 competitions, and you know, we desperately want to win a trophy, and obviously we got our sights set on the big ones, you know, the league or the Champions League. But if it ends up being a domestic cup as well and a really good finish in the league, many of us would probably take that as a good season. Don't get me wrong, I desperately want to win a title, Mo, but you know, it's not going to be easy because you've got so many teams competing for that top spot, and it's not. We know it's not going to be easy with the business that other clubs are probably going to have to do between now and next week. I think, you know, City haven't done an awful lot of the, you know, United. Mourinho's crying it in already, but he wants to do another 1 or 2, doesn't he? Spurs have done nothing at all, so we'll see what happens. But
Chelsea are the ones to watch for me, you know.
Well, they haven't lost those players that we thought they were going to lose. So, and again, you know, caveat it, there's still a week to go, but you're thinking, after the World Cup, Hazard's probably gonna leave. He's making those kind of noises. You're also thinking Courtois is going to go, and I mean, he still might. But as it gets to you know, that deadline day, you know, clubs aren't going to suddenly want to hand over players, regardless of the fee, if they can't replace them. They can't
replace them, and this is where it gets really interesting for me, because if I was one of the big teams in Europe, I mean, I could be. We don't know. What I would do is, even if the window is closed, their window continues. So if you're a Juventus or a Real Madrid and you throw a massive bid in, or even a PSG, I mean a massive destabilising bid in, and obviously Chelsea are going to say no because, like you say, they can't replace him. But you're going to get an unhappy player.
Yeah.
And that, almost having those players have to stay there against their will, kind of works out quite nicely for us.
Well, it is. I mean, it's difficult. We saw it last season with Coutinho, and obviously we end up keeping him until Jan. But it was clear from everyone, body language, that he wasn't happy. His performances were still of a very good level, and you know, once he kind of made his peace with it, you watched him turn in some really good performances. But you could tell, you know, the fact he wasn't celebrating goals and things.
I was going to say, when
the body language wasn't great.
The hat trick in the Champions League, where he was captain that day, that kind of really stuck out for me because I was watching him. I was at that game. And I did remember thinking, he's not celebrating enough for me.
Yeah.
I don't like this. It makes me nervous. And you don't know what kind of influence that's going to have within the squad. So, I mean, like I say, Chelsea, they're always an interesting team to watch in the transfer market. And hopefully we'll have had all our business done by then so we can kick back, relax, and get the popcorn out.
Personally, Mo, I don't like the fact that the window's closed nearly than everyone else. So the rest of Europe's got till the 31st of August and we've got till the 9th of August.
It's a bit Brexit, isn't it?
It's not ideal. It's yeah, if you want to go there, yeah, why not?
I mean, it is. It is.
But it's not ideal. And I think, you know, Pochettino's come out and said something similar yesterday. I can absolutely get on board with the window shutting before the season starts, as long as the rest of Europe falls in line with it. But you do leave yourselves open a little bit as the Premier League if you're going to close the window before everyone else does. So I think that there's a risk there. I don't think it'll affect Liverpool this season because I think it's safe to say that the players Jurgen wants to keep will remain at the club, certainly for the next season. And the other thing to think about, which, you know, I'll talk about always wanting one more and stuff like that, and that might always be realistic. But the manager is obviously working with these boys day in, day out. It's important to remember that, you know, he's at the kind of coalface, if you like. He's working with the players. He's working with your likes of your Curtis Jones, and maybe he's thinking, this lad is going to get game time this season, and it might not be till the second half of the season, but he's good enough to actually feature, so I don't need anyone else. And that's, you've always got to factor that in, and you know, there's been other performances as well on the tour where you think, well, you could see actually maybe one or two of these youngsters getting more game time than maybe what you thought at the end of last season, where you're thinking, well, I don't expect anyone to break through in the next 6-12 months, but actually now that picture's slightly changed, so it's important to remember that. And I think we're in a fortunate position that we've got a couple of belters who are chomping at the bit. And again, if you think about the character of some of these players and the arrogance, but in a good way, that's flowing through some of these lads. They expect, or they think, they believe, they want to stake a claim, and they've got every chance. From what I've seen, not just in pre-season, but kind of at under 23s, under 18 level, I've watched a little bit of that football as well, and there are players there who will certainly get Liverpool fans excited.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited already. I mean, to be honest, every time I talk about football with you, I end up coming away excited. It's just the way, even though I know that we probably aren't going to buy any more players. But as you know, the season's starting in, well, just over a week. And
it's mad, isn't it, how it's just crept up? Charity Shield this weekend, it's bonkers.
I mean, we've still got 2 games between now and then. And obviously, one of those games is going to be happening this weekend in Ireland. And the Anfield Wrap are going to be there this weekend. In fact, we're doing a double header in Belfast and Dublin, and it's Mandela Hall in Belfast, which I believe is tomorrow night. So get your tickets
tomorrow night, Get
your tickets ready. And then the Button Factory in Dublin will be on Friday night, leading up to the game itself on Saturday. Now, I'm sure some of you, in fact most of you, will have seen the footage of the live shows over in America. Now, I'm not sure there's going to be any DJs quite as skilled as they had in Detroit, but I know there's going to be some good fun to be had over in Ireland. So if you do get the chance, definitely go and check that out. Now, in terms of what we're going to give you on the Anfield Wrap today, as long as us, there's also 2 more shows coming out. We've got The Gutter, which is coming out, which is going to be discussing all things transfer. It's going to be...
Good luck, boys.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of the outgoings, but you never know. There might be some more fucking news.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dangle it in front of you like that. There might be. We don't know. Anyway, we've also got AFQ Football, which was recorded yesterday. That's going to be coming out, which is always good for a laugh. And after that, I believe tomorrow will be with the return of Gareth Roberts in this chair, or in that chair, talking about football, talking about Liverpool, just like we're doing today.
The big man back, is he, tomorrow?
I believe so. It's Thursday, isn't it? Sean's giving me the weird side eye, which makes me think he's probably not back tomorrow. But he'll be back soon enough. I know you love him. We all love him. Just like we love the Reds.